I still remember how ordinary the morning looked. Nothing about it suggested it would divide my life into before and after. My interview clothes were already pressed. My folder sat beside my keys. For weeks, I'd rehearsed answers while everyone else slept because it was the only quiet time I ever had. It was the final interview for an operations coordinator position at a growing engineering firm. Stable salary, benefits, a chance to move into my own apartment. I reached for the front door. My mother stepped in front of it. "Your sister has brunch." I waited for the rest. "You're watching her kids." I laughed once because I thought she was joking. "I'm leaving in 20 minutes, I said. This interview could change my life. Dad never looked up from his newspaper. "Girls like you don't get lives," he said. "You get duties." The words landed with the confidence of something he'd believed for decades. A minute later, my sister walked in carrying a diaper bag in one hand and balancing a toddler on her hip. She placed the bag at my feet without asking. "I'll be back this afternoon." She sounded certain because everyone always agreed with her. For a few seconds I stared at the bag, then I picked up my own. I walked around it, crossed the kitchen, unlocked the back door, and left before anyone realized I wasn't arguing anymore. No one chased me. That hurt more than if they had. The interview itself became a blur. I answered questions, smiled when appropriate, and tried to ignore the guilt that had followed me there. Half of me expected my phone to explode with angry messages. It didn't. Hours later, there was only one voicemail. "Don't bother coming home until you're ready to apologize." I listened to it twice. Then I rented the cheapest room I could find and slept on a mattress that touched the floor. The job offer arrived 3 days later. Life after that wasn't inspiring. It was mostly exhausting. I learned how expensive freedom could be. I worked late, ate instant noodles more often than I'd admit, missed birthdays I wasn't invited to anyway. Sometimes I wondered if I had abandoned my family. Then I'd remember the front door. 7 years passed quietly. Promotions came one at a time. I became someone people trusted with difficult projects because I stayed calm when everything else wasn't. Eventually, I managed regional operations for a healthcare facilities company. I rarely thought about home anymore. Until one Tuesday, our company had been hired to modernize administrative systems for a large community care organization. The executive meeting included department heads, board members, and representatives from several partner agencies. I arrived early. Halfway through setting up, I heard a familiar laugh. My sister. She had recently accepted an administrative position with one of the partner organizations. She froze when she saw me. Neither of us spoke. The meeting filled quickly. Near the end, the chief executive stood. "I'd like to recognize someone whose work made this entire transition possible." I assumed he meant one of the senior directors. Instead, he looked directly at me. He thanked me for leading a project that had finished ahead of schedule and under budget despite multiple setbacks. Then he announced our company had extended my leadership role across the region. The room applauded. Several executives stood to shake my hand. Across the table, my sister remained completely still. No one in that room knew our history. To them, I was simply the person responsible for work they respected. That was enough. After the meeting, she caught me in the hallway. "You never told anyone where you went." I smiled politely. No one asked. She looked older than I remembered. "So, are you doing well?" It was the first genuine question she'd asked me in years. "I've built a good life." She nodded slowly. "Mom still says you chose work over family." I thought about correcting her. Instead, I asked, "Does she ever mention why I left?" Silence answered for her. Before leaving, she said, almost too quietly, "Dad retired last year. I wished him good health, nothing more." Driving home, I realized something unexpected. For years, I'd imagined that if they ever saw who I'd become, everything would finally make sense. It didn't. Recognition couldn't rewrite memory. Successes couldn't repair habits built over a lifetime, but it didn't have to. That morning, 7 years earlier, I hadn't walked out because I was brave. I walked out because staying would have erased me. The back door had never really been an exit. It was the first entrance into a life that finally belonged to me.